Scott Lawley is a spokesman, and he joins us now. Scott, how bad are attitudes, homophobic attitudes in football in the UK particularly?
I think historically they've been incredibly bad, and you can see that in the fact that there isn't an out gay player in any of the professional leagues in the UK at the moment. At the grassroots level where we play, you get a bit of a mixed picture, but there are certainly cultures in some grassroots teams that exclude or put off gay men from taking part, and that's part of the reason why clubs such as ours exist.
Oh, well, what can be done about it? What can the FA do about something that's, I suppose, a prejudice that's been existing for a very, very long time?
Well, yeah, and it's a very difficult issue to tackle. If you're talking about culture change and if you're talking about attitude change, you can be talking about cultures that have existed for years and can be quite deeply rooted. I think there's no one area that you look at. Certainly, you know, if there were gay players who were able to be out, that would be a great help. There would be role models for people coming into the game. But, yeah, you have to look throughout the sport, really.
It's strange, though, because if you look at other sports, for instance, rugby union, which you might imagine was a more, I suppose, homophobic sport at one stage, they've in some ways managed to confront this. They've had players come out, they've had referees come out, they've managed to do that. Football hasn't had anything. What's the difference?
I think one of the things is that football is the national game, and of course with rugby, cricket, where you've had players who've come out, and you've had top-level players who've come out whilst they're during their playing career. It still doesn't have quite that press focus that exists within football.
Do you think, though, that in some respects maybe football in the UK has focused more on racism as an issue, decided to tackle that or try and tackle that rather than dealing with homophobia at the same time or instead of?
I don't really think it's an either-or, to be honest. I mean, they're both forms of discrimination that are unacceptable in the sport. Certainly, you know, anyone who was around watching football in the 70s, the 80s will know what an absolutely massive problem racism was within football. And a lot has been done to change that and to change the culture. We know from recent stories that race isn't an issue that's been solved within football at all, but certainly the situation is a lot different to how it was, you know, back in the 70s and the 80s. You know, hopefully, with some of the initiatives that are taking place today, the same road, we're starting on the same road with homophobia as well.
And Scott, briefly, do you think that the big clubs, the Premiership clubs, that they're doing enough? And could they do more?
All the Premiership clubs have signed up to the government's charter that's come out to promise to tackle homophobia and transphobia within the sport. That's a good move, but it has to be backed up with actions. Yesterday was Football v Homophobia Day. Less than half of the Premiership clubs actually actively did anything, you know, either at their matches or in their programmes or anything like that to tackle the issue. So yes, they could be doing more.
OK, Scott Lawley, thank you very much indeed for joining us.